show of hands, how many people here in this room have an Xbox at home?
Yes.
Okay, your peeps are clearly here.
That's good.
That's great.
Show of hands.
How many have an Xbox One at home? Nobody, because it has. Oh, there's the leak. No. The Xbox One is going to be released November 22nd. Carl even just told me he doesn't have one at home yet.
No.
But maybe you can tell us still a little bit about the product, show it for people who haven't seen any photos of it yet, and tell us a little bit how it came together from a design perspective as well.
Sure. So it's great to see so many Xbox people out there. Xbox has been a big part of my life. As a designer, I've been working on it for a number of years, and if you go back in time, I don't know how many people here had maybe an Atari Palm. Show of hands. Yeah.
You can do it for every game.
I know. So there's a bunch of these things, and it's fascinating when we think about the intersection between design and experience. How things as simple as Atari Palm can really delight people. So when we think about what Xbox is doing, the amount of delight that it brings, it's just grown exponentially. So my background is as being a creative director in Xbox. It goes back to actually the redesign of the 360 when Kinect first came out. And so I brought a couple slides just to familiarize you with what's going on. So Xbox One's coming out November 22nd. We're all really excited. I don't have one. We have one in our studio we can use, and it's killing me that I don't have one at home. And I'm committed. I'm going to find some place to spend the night in line with everybody to get one for home. And
you're going to call it sick too?
I think so. There's some really cool games coming out. So this is a shot of the hardware. I'm sure most of you have seen it. We put a lot of thought into the design of it. It's the most powerful gaming console that Microsoft has ever produced. And it really is the next generation of what games and entertainment will be for the company. And so the console, the design of the console, and the design of the Kinect sensor, it's really more of an architectural statement. We've really created something more simple, and we're using some interesting molding techniques in the resin. So it has almost a glass-like front bezel, and that glass-like front bezel really fits in with home audio, home entertainment, high-definition televisions, all the things that people have at home. And then the counterpoint to that is the controller. And we challenged ourselves because the 360 controller is really popular. People like it. There are a couple of things that we wanted to improve on it. But once we started, we almost couldn't stop. There was a lot of opportunity to create something that would fit in more people's hands. It turns out that almost 40% of people who use Xbox today are women. And our challenge was, how do we make the controller fit into a wider range of hand sizes? So we have, as part of our design team, ergonomists and user researchers, and we put a lot of effort into studying the controller. We built, I think, almost 200 models of the shape to test fit, to see how it fit in people's hands. We did some improvements on the thumbsticks, how they can accommodate different, what we call grip architectures, how people, they have this top grip on the thumbsticks for you gamers out there, when you're trying to snipe or something. But we also found that people, when they're playing games like Forza, driving games, they put their thumb on the side and they almost feather the controller. And so we added these new micro textures around the side to give it a better feel. And so there's a bunch of things we've done. You can see that the brand, the way we present the Xbox brand is actually more consistent across all the devices. And again, I feel like it's that, part of that high definition environment, so the brand comes through. So that's the hardware. This is a shot. This is really exciting. This is not hardware, but it actually is what I think is the soul of where entertainment is going from Microsoft. This is a shot of Xbox Music. And so what it shows is, the big screen is, of course, the living room. Xbox Music really kind of cut its teeth with Zune. I don't know how many people are familiar with Zune. It was the Microsoft media player. And it was pretty dynamic.
Some remember the trumpet cutter.
Yeah, and Zune really brought something new and fresh to how people really consume and listen to music. And so it really became part of what we wanted to do with Xbox Entertainment. And so this shot's exciting because we recently announced that the applications for Xbox Music are not only available, of course, in Xbox, but on Windows 8, Windows Phone 8, the iOS, and Android mobile systems. So here's a case where entertainment through Xbox is now available across a variety of platforms, not just the console in the living room. So we're pretty excited about this, and it kind of gives a hint to where we see entertainment going for Xbox.
Let's step back a second though and talk a little bit more about the industrial design of the actual console. And I was kind of wondering, when I looked at that first, I thought, yeah, it looks much more like it would be in the living room, it would be under my TV maybe. Whereas the other Xbox, the Xbox 360, looks more like something that's on the floor, on the carpet, in a kid's room or something, or in the den or so. How do you take that leap to the living room, but at the same time still make it exciting, still make it about entertainment and not some like boring piece of setup of many pieces that I have under my TV, with the cable box right next to it possibly?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we still have the Xbox 360, and part of our challenge was not only do we offer more entertainment to Xbox One, but how do we make the design of that console, of that system, echo, I think, the capability of it more so than 360. And 360 is still solid. I use it every day, and it will still continue to have it. But I think for the design team, our challenge was, how do we make it feel premium? How do we make it feel like it's a more, we call it holistically designed. So when you think about the new modern design language that you see in the user interface of Microsoft through Windows Phone and Windows, we actually took a lot of cues from that to bring it into the proportions, the size, the finishes on the console and on the Kinect sensor. And even the sensor itself, for those of you familiar with the 360 Kinect sensor, it had those 3 circle elements on the front where we have sensors and cameras and things like that. And the new Xbox One Kinect, it has a lot more technology in it. It does a lot of amazing things that I don't even think people talk about yet, that really make using Xbox more fluid and more seamless. And so our challenge was, hey, how do we make all this technology feel a little quieter so it doesn't overwhelm people?
Let's talk about the Kinect, especially as a sensor, because there was a little bit of controversy, I guess, when you initially announced the console about some of the decisions with gameplay and rentals and stuff. But there was also some privacy issues that came up, and maybe the timing wasn't really great with all the NSA stuff coming out at about the same time, but essentially introducing a microphone that's always on and listening for hot words, and obviously also have the camera that's always connected to the console. And people are getting more conscious, at least, of these things. So how do you approach that from a design perspective to not make it look like there's always an eye staring at me, or always a surveillance camera in the middle of my living room, essentially?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it's like everything in life. It's about finding a balance. Like on one hand, we were looking at concepts where everything just was almost hidden behind this glass. But we didn't feel like that was authentic or necessarily the best solution. And then we looked at other ones that we started to expose all the different technologies. Then it starts feeling like technology. So we wanted to strike that balance between a pure form that feels like it's part of the home, that's an invited member of the home. And when we first announced Xbox One at E3, we listened to people. We listened to the customers and the comments and the concerns about the Kinect. And we actually listened and acted on that. So the Kinect for Xbox One, you will be able to turn it off. You can go in settings and turn it off. You can even unplug it and the system will still work. But when you do that, it turns off a lot of things in the system that, one of the things that I get excited about is you can walk in to the living room and it'll be listening and you say, Xbox on. And that's, you don't have to look for remotes or touch buttons or find the controller or do all those kinds of things. And the system will turn on. And that's kind of magical, that with a simple command, everything will light up. It'll recognize you, it'll see you and know who you are. It'll take you to your home, your music, your games, your movies, all the stuff that you care about, or your family. So you can have accounts for everybody in your family. And when you turn it on, it'll see you and show you your home.
Voice control is kind of interesting because it seems like it has a lot of potential, and companies get really excited about breaking into their products, but then consumers don't always use it as much.
Yeah.
And I hope I don't get anybody in trouble, but sometimes I get briefings from Microsoft where they sit in front of the console. That was the Xbox 360, and then they say Xbox, Xbox, and they kind of show off that it works. And then after 2 minutes or so, they grab the controller, and it's just a little easier and faster to do it. But so how do you strike that balance between essential functionality that is really easy to navigate through, make this with my controller, and getting this ease of use in the living room with something that's a little more futuristic maybe?
Yeah, no, that's a great one. We, because we have this system set up, we have a large number of people who are designing experiences, user interface, and content around using Connect. And you're right. We know that to navigate content using gestures, that's probably not the most efficient way. But on the other hand, if you're playing games and navigating content or doing certain things using gestures, it makes a lot of sense and it works. When it comes to voice, I think one of the stronger things that you can do with it is when you're trying to find content, it's one thing to try to plug in, letter by letter, the name of a movie or an actor or an artist, or you have to go to a guide and then search around and search and search and search. But with Connect, you can, Xbox find movies with your favorite actor, and it'll go out and search all the different content providers, whether it's Xbox, Netflix, Hulu, all these different things, and it'll pull up your choices. And that's pretty cool. You don't have to remember station or TV channel, 631, or you can just say Xbox, go to ESPN.
One thing that I noticed is that you guys obviously put the microphone directly into Connect. Other companies do it differently when they use voice. I think Samsung has TVs out there where you pick up the remote control and you press a button and talk into it like it's your spy phone or something like that. So why did you guys decide to have the microphone so far removed and maybe more in the room?
Yeah, there's a couple reasons. The first one is it's just always there. It's always available. If you have to start looking for something to talk to the system, it sort of breaks down quickly. And this whole idea of being seamless and fluid, having it always there was the number one principle. The second one is the microphones on Connect. It actually is an array. So if you and I are at home in the living room, it can tell if you're talking or if I'm talking, and it can associate where that voice is coming from to the person. And that just gives it a whole other level of experience that you couldn't necessarily get if everybody's holding these. You'd have to determine where.
So it's easier to fight over TV programming with that?
Maybe it could be a yelling match. I don't know.
Let's step back a little bit and maybe talk a little about the UI. And you already kind of showed us some of the stuff that's coming to different devices, and take some cues maybe from earlier developments. I'm wondering how far does this reach, and where is the point where it stops? Because there are specific devices that I use for specific use cases. I use my laptop for something different than my phone, and the Xbox obviously more for entertainment purposes. So how far can you take these metaphors to these devices?
Well, actually you can take them pretty far, and I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface now. We have, like the design teams at Microsoft, there are a number of them, and we've recently reorganized the company into devices and services. And it's super exciting from not only an industrial designer point of view, where you can think about things like Surface and Xbox, and even some of the PC hardware peripherals, like how can these things start to come together in more of a unified way? And on the same side, on the UI front, we've really made a lot of progress in what we're offering to people through the Windows Phone UI and where Windows 8's going. And we still have a lot of things we want to do to make them even better. And that last slide I showed with the Xbox Music, I have some other images that are really exciting because when you take the Windows Phone and put it next to, the Surface or Windows 8 and Xbox, they do share one common design language. And again, this is profound. It hasn't ever really happened before, and that's something that we want to even take further. And the reason why it's good is, again, with what we're talking about today and tomorrow, it's this intersection of experience. People want things that just work. They don't want to have to rethink how to navigate, or was this favorites or bookmarks, or what are these things called? How do I use my voice consistently? Hey, I bought a song or a movie. That should just follow me around. That should follow anybody around so that it's very consistent. And so that's something that, with the new structure of the company and the way the design teams are set up, we really want to take those experiences further.
So you're saying eventually Office is going to look like this as well?
I don't know about Office, but
let's talk a little bit about other features that are more related to
I'm an entertainment guy.
Yeah,
I like Xbox.
fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about that part of the business then. Let's talk about what you see coming there. There's obviously a lot of visions about taking gaming, maybe even beyond the screen. And you guys showed some stuff out of Microsoft Research, the Illumi Room. Maybe you can describe it a little bit for people who haven't seen the video. Then I'm also interested in your thoughts on Oculus Rift and which of these approaches has more value, and where do you see Microsoft potentially going in the future? What kind of things are you exploring?
So the Illumi Room was a concept developed by Microsoft Research, and I don't know the technologies in depth, but I can describe it approximately for people. And I would encourage you to go out and search it. Search Illumi Room. It's pretty interesting concept that was developed. Right now, there's no plans to take it into production at all. But the concept was it could take the content that you're experiencing, a movie, a game, something like that, and using Kinect sensors that map the room, it would take images from this content and then project it out into the room. So it would make your experience very immersive, and not necessarily literally copying things from the content, but it does reference it. And it's pretty interesting. I personally find it intriguing because the concept of immersion is good. It's something that people want. If you think, going back to Palm, how engaging was that? Just, but today it's like, the new games from Xbox One, they're so real. The quality, the resolution of the characters, and the stories that the developers are creating are fantastic. And so I think the potential that's out there for our company and other companies is enormous to take immersion to a new level. And so we think about it. Oculus Rift, I was just talking to the Google guys about that. I've never tried it. It sounds fascinating. I would like to try it. I've never experienced that.
This guy doesn't have an Xbox One at home. He hasn't tried the Oculus Rift.
I know, what's going on? I'm still on the Xbox 360.
So the question, I guess, that comes up for me when I think about these things is, if you talk about enabling new immersive experiences, what can these experiences look like? And is it still gaming? Are we exploring new areas that you could go into? What do you see coming there?
Well, I think from an entertainment perspective, I always refer to the living room as sort of the Wild West. Like right now, there's a lot of companies investing and really trying to capture the hearts and minds and souls, and I guess wallets of people at home. And if you think about the migration of content and what people are building, TV, it goes back to 1950, maybe before then, and the whole notion of having a channel that you change the channel dial or push the button to advance through a certain fixed number of channels with either pre-recorded or live content. It really hasn't changed much until, I guess it was in the 70s when HBO came out with this whole idea of paying for special movies. And if you go back and look at the way you could choose the movies in HBO back in 1978, the guide, it hasn't changed a whole heck of a lot. So here we are. I can't remember who was talking this morning about, I think it might have been Tony Fidel, about using the same old knowledge about something and then applying it with new technology. So I feel like, in the Wild West of the living room today, there's a number of companies, Microsoft included, that are really thinking hard about what is the new content for entertainment? How are we thinking about television, movies, games, all these things? Where do the lines start to blur? And so, and then couple into that this whole idea of immersion, where can that go? I don't have the answers, but I do know that is a really exciting space. That's why I'm as excited about Xbox today as ever. And I think that there's a lot of things that can be done there still. That I feel like we're just starting to scratch the surface on what the new version of home entertainment can be.
I think we have about 5 minutes left, so if anyone has any questions, now would be a good time. We have some microphones in the room. Maybe raise your hand, and then somebody will come to you. Otherwise, I have a bunch of other questions as well, but why don't we give the audience a chance?
So you talked earlier about you want to be able to take your music and whatnot with you. Are you thinking about changing the digital rights for the Xbox One so that you are able to take a game from your house to, say, a friend's?
Well, so right now with Xbox One, we are a disc-based game. You can copy your content to the game. I'm not sure how the digital version of that will transfer or not. But otherwise, since we did pull back to say that Xbox One will be a disc-based game console, it's like 360. You can take that disc wherever you go.
I guess that leads kind of to the question, what's going to be like the bigger disruption? Is it going to be for you guys going into the living room and doing more in the TV space, or is it the next step in gaming where you ditch the discs, possibly do like an online type streaming experience, or you just downloads? Like where's the bigger challenge for you guys? What do you see there?
Well, I think games are, games, they're going to continue to get better, the higher resolution, more immersive, multiplayer, the social aspects of games are going to continue to get better. I think TV, Xbox One is going to offer TV. You can plug in your cable box through HDMI to it. And what's awesome about that is you get, it's one stop. You don't have to change inputs. You actually will turn on your Xbox on, and the Kinect sensor will send out an IR code. It'll turn on your TV. It'll get everything up and running, and you have one user interface to access all your stuff. But I think getting TV the way it exists today, it's like table stakes. It's really a start. So I think for us, for Microsoft and Xbox to be even more relevant in the future, we have to think about how does this entertainment follow you around in a meaningful way, throughout the day. And then also, what is the new version of TV? How does CBS evolve? What's in the future for NBC? What's going to happen? And there's going to have to be changes that will evolve. I don't know what they are, but Xbox should be a part of that.
All right, more questions?
Does Xbox 360 hardware and software integrate with the new Xbox One?
Integrate. So they're familiar. They're part of one family. Xbox 360 games will not work on Xbox One. They're two different platforms, and the reason why they are is because the technology that's in Xbox One is so far advanced from 360 that they're just designed for different types of content. Does that kind of answer the question?
I think we have one more question over here.
Hi, I'll try and make this simple. It might be verbose. So this morning, John Knight from RISD was talking about Moore's Law, and for the longest time it was more technology, more horsepower, and then we've got to a point now where less is more. And I think the video game industry and Xbox is a good example of that, where it was better rendering, more polygons, faster, more RAM, blah, blah, blah. And now all of a sudden we're at a point where the question is the future changing for platforms like the Xbox and the PlayStation with the advent of everybody maybe being content with tablet games and more lightweight casual gaming, social games. And so I just wonder if you have any insights about that.
Well, I love John's talk. I found it really interesting, and you know, understanding Moore's law and those theories. I think that I honestly think that the processing powers that we're going to see are going to continue to grow. I think that the content developers, they're going to take advantage of it. And it's sort of like if you step back in time to, you know, Nintendo NES or things when you see the games. I have one of those at home that my kids, and they invite their friends over and play it for nostalgia. They think it's cool, you know, 8-bit and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, 10 years from now, if you look at 360 or Xbox One, I would like to think that it would feel archaic. That you know, where this stuff's going to go is mind-blowing, and I think it's going to continue to evolve. I think the processing power and you know, the cloud and everything that goes into content that's designed for these systems is going to greatly advance, and I think it's really exciting.
So what I'm hearing here is keep your Xbox 360 in 10 years, your kids are going to like it. Going to think it's retro. Right, I think we're out of time, unfortunately. Thank you.